I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, today we are reading from the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 4. Let's focus on verses 11 and 12. Command and teach these things. No one should despise your youth. Instead, you should be an example to the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. A few years ago, I got a phone call from my then 12-year-old son, Wyatt, and he had just hit the age where he was attending night parties. You know the difference between night and day parties? Day parties include a birthday cake and a clown bending balloons. And when you start to get in towards your teenage years, you start going to night parties, which consist of pizza and loud music and usually a lot of friends that have yet to discover deodorant. They're all standing around trying to look cool. Okay, it's a rite of passage. Anyhow, we get this call. Answer the phone. Hello, my son says, yeah, am I allowed to play the Halo video game? And I'm like, well, what's it rated? And he says, oh, well, it's a M for mature. And I said, are you 18 years old? And he's like, no. And I said, well, then no. At that time, he's probably 10. I said, no, you shouldn't play it. And then he says this. He says, well, can you come pick me up? And I said, well, why? Because, we just dropped him off like 30 minutes ago. He says, well, because everybody's playing this game and I'm alone and I'm bored. And I said, you know what? I'll be there in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, my wife and I show up. We expect to see my son kind of moping by the curb. But all the kids were outside. They're all playing basketball. My son runs up to the car and he goes, you know what? I don't got to leave now, right? I'm going to stay. He says, I told him I wasn't allowed to play that game, and so I was going to have to leave. And they said, well, don't do that. And so now we're out here playing basketball instead. Now, let me tell you, when I was a kid, I never would have made that phone call. Y'all probably wouldn't have either. I just would have played the game, right? I never would have said anything to my mom and dad. If asked, I probably would have just lied and said no. And I wouldn't have had any remorse for it. I mean, that's just how I figured kids got by. It wasn't the right attitude to have, but I never considered my parents really to be on my side. I just kind of felt that my parents were always the barrier that stood between me and fun. So whenever I went to someone else's house, if their parents let them do stuff that mine wouldn't, I just did what I wanted to do. So the whole scene kind of ate at my soul because I could never be at peace as a kid down deep, because I knew that down deep I was a liar. Now, let me be the first to say that I'm proud of my son, and he's not always a saint, right, as an adult. But episodes like I described, they still happen. And I'm proud to know that we aren't his enemies. I'm proud to know he'll call us in a moment. He stands up for whatever it is he believes at any moment that is right. And that he doesn't let other people control him, and I'm thankful for that. Leadership is not about age. It's about being confident, competent, and convicted. And I will never tire of telling you that God has great plans for you. Not everyone who is a successful Christian and out there building the kingdom and doing the Great Commission, most people that are in that category, they're not on church staff. So just stay the course, endure, and receive what God has prepared for those who are faithful. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people just like you. And you may wonder, do you really need my monthly support? Yes, we do. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. Another way to help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries. You can share these podcasts with friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.